Hi folks, it's Mary from Timber Mill Design. In this video, I'm going to show you step-by-step process to make this mosaic home decor sign. Let's build something.
We started with a piece of poplar, and it's about an inch thick. We cut it into 1/4 inch thick strips. Then we took it over to the chop saw and cut it into some manageable pieces. And then each of these mosaic pieces are going to be cut at a 45-degree angle. So each piece was cut. On the back of the sign, you'll see it's a 1/2 inch piece of plywood. I drew a pencil mark for the horizontal and vertical guidelines. And then here in this shot, I'm just lining them up to see how things would fit and how many pieces I would need. When you get ready to glue that down, I do recommend taking your time on the first of each couple of pieces in each direction to make sure they are exactly where you need them, so that it's not off later. If it's off a little at the beginning, it'll be off a lot at the end. You'll notice also that the pieces hang over real far, and so we'll cut that off on the table saw once we get all the pieces glued down. In this shot, really the only piece you see where I'm gluing it. I used a lot of glue to make sure everything was good and sealed, and then make sure you get all the seams lined up. Home Decor brand chalk paint is from Hobby Lobby, and this particular color I think is called White Cottage. It's not a stark white, it's a little bit of an off-white, has very little yellow in it, which is, I like it. And I'm thinning it out because I don't really want to see the brush strokes this time. So you can thin chalk paint as much as you want. It's wonderful that way. I also sanded, you didn't see, but I did sand this down after the glue was dry to make sure that I didn't have any major rough spots. And then we're going to paint it. Obviously by now we have cut off the excess of the mosaic pieces, and we have a nice rectangle, and sped up the process here of painting because, you know, pretty self-explanatory. Just covered it up. And then we're going to distress it here in a moment with the sander, because I wanted that distressed look, and that poplar really shines through nicely. The color of poplar after it's painted and then distressed is a really good, like a khaki color, and so it works really well. This looks pink, but that's because I'm outside under a red yard umbrella and bright sunny day, so it kind of looks pink. But you'll see where some of those pieces really distress nicely, and I just like the look of that. So we're ready for the letters. I used 1/2 inch primed MDF. And I put a piece of packing tape down first so that I can spray it with this adhesive, this Loctite spray adhesive. That adhesive will hold down the paper letter that I have cut off of my computer. And it'll keep it on there. And then once I cut the letter out, I can peel the tape off, and it'll take the tape and the glue and the paper off all at once. So we head over to the scroll saw to cut each letter. I do apologize for the glare. I didn't realize the little light on my scroll saw was going to be pointing right to the camera. And most of the time my hand's in the way. But we cut out the letters using the scroll saw. I believe we used just a basic number 5 blade, and it cuts MDF really well. You know, one thing about MDF is it's easy to shape and sand off because it's really more like a pulp than it is a wood. But I was able to get a really good painted finish on these letters, so that worked really well. We'll be ready to place the letters as soon as we get them painted. So, forgot, we do need to sand them just to get any of the little bits off that didn't turn out just exactly perfect. So there are all our letters. I'm going to paint it using Waverly paint. It comes from Walmart. It's a great paint for projects, and I've had this paint, the color's called ink, a long time. You see how thick it is, so I poured some water in to thin it up. It just gives a nice smooth finish. Chalk paint is really good when you want to see brush strokes, but I really didn't want to see brush strokes on this, so that's why I thinned it out. And then of course I'm wearing gloves because I always think I'm not going to get it on myself, and then I wear paint for a few days because I get it on my hands. So gloves are a necessity for that. I also had to repaint just a couple of pieces because as I moved these around, I did scratch some of that off. That paint will scratch easily once if it doesn't have a sealant on it, and I'll do the sealant at the end. When I get ready to place the letters, I just use one letter to give myself a visual guide as to how high or low I want that to sit. And then I use a carpenter square to give me a straight edge, and some painter's tape to give me a line guide of where those letters are going to sit. And then I have not gluing them down here. I just want to lay them out and kind of see what looks good, how much space is going to fit. And then I also noticed that that letter S was going to need to hang below the line to look like what I wanted it to look like. Now when I get ready to glue, in addition to gluing on and painting it around, because I want to spread that glue so it has a lot of seal, I do glue down from outside in so that when I get finished, I don't have a whole lot of space at the beginning or a whole lot of space at the end. So I did the I, then I did the last L, then I did the T, then I did the next to the last L. And so this last letter that I'm going to lay out is going to be the S, which is going to have to be placed after the tape is pulled up. So that's why I kind of pulled it a little bit and gave it a visual. So now it's time for the frame. This is a really easy, simple, I call it the beginner frame, because really it's just wood and we've just put it together. There's no miter cuts. It's just this length of the wood or the sign. It's pine, and I believe it's about it's a rip off of a 2x4, so it's almost about 2 inches. And then I just stained it and attached it using the brad nailer, a couple of clamps to hold it in place, and then I did the top and the bottom. A little glue keeps it from sliding around, and then I can easily attach those. So it gives it a nice little ridge and a nice frame that, if you want to call it rustic, but it's just a simple beginner's frame, and so it worked good for this particular project. Adjust things kind of as we go so we don't have any parts that are higher than others. And so next is going to come the finish, which is polyacrylic from Minwax. I use the spray. I normally like to use a paintbrush and wipe on polyacrylic, but this spray does really well when things are at different levels. So I just spray every direction and it gives it a really nice finish.
And that's a wrap. If you like what you saw, don't forget to hit the subscribe button at Timber Mill Design. Also, give us a thumbs up or a like or all the things. We're excited to have you come with us on this journey. Till next time.